One of the stocks that many people started talking about over the last couple of weeks and months is Nike, mainly because of the significant drawdown which Nike faced. So right here in November 2021, the stock topped at $179 and now here we are 3.5 years later and the stock dropped even below $60. At one time we have even been very close to $50. That was when Trump announced the tariffs, the big tariffs, but since then we got a little bounce at least. So in today's video we are going to talk about what went wrong with Nike, how the competitors are doing. We are going to talk about the new CEO and whether he can change things. We will also take a look at several metrics, and at the end of the video I'm also going to tell you whether I own Nike stocks, whether I think it's a good time to buy right now, or whether we should rather wait, in my opinion, of course. So right now we are in the middle of June 2025 and we are 1 week away from Nike earnings. The estimation is $10.7 billion in revenue and 12.3 cents earnings per share are estimated. If we compare that to the same quarter 1 year ago, the revenue was over $12.5 billion and also the earnings per share have been significantly higher than what is expected right now. So that shows us in which bad situation Nike really is. And right now we are going to talk about the competitors. So let's talk about what happened to the business of Nike and what caused the decline in revenues. Many people talk about the competitors that could have taken market share from Nike, and one of the companies that is always getting mentioned is On Holdings. Here you can see some of their shoes. In my opinion, they are definitely kind of ugly and I don't think that many young cool people wanna wear them, so I don't actually really understand why people think that they took market share from Nike. So I get the point that the company has grown a lot. When we take a look at the stock price in December 2022, the stock was at $16 and now we are above 50, so they did grow a lot. And I also see many people in Germany who are wearing these shoes, but what I'm seeing, most of them are older people and I doubt that they bought Nike shoes before, so I don't think that this company took market share from Nike in the last couple of years. I just think that they did a good job in finding people who are likely to buy their shoes, but I don't see young cool people walking around with these shoes instead of Nikes. The next company also with running shoes is Deckers Outdoor with their Hoka brand, and I think that's definitely more likely that some runners bought these shoes instead of Nikes. If you are living in the US, you could definitely write a comment what you are seeing around you. Did people go from Nike to Hoka? That would be very nice to know. So if you are from the US, please let me know. So I'm living in Germany right now and I don't see many people with these shoes. So if we compare the performance from Deckers Outdoor with Nike since November 2021, Deckers Outdoor is also up around 50%, so it outperformed Nike decently, but it also crashed 50% since January 2025. Very interesting to see. But let's talk about the next competitor that might have taken most of the Nike's market share. In my opinion, that's Adidas, and they did have this viral Samba shoe. At least in Germany, many people are running around with these shoes. Definitely not the type of shoe that I would wear, but nevertheless many people bought a pair of these. Again, if you're in the US, you could comment down below whether you're seeing the same in the US or whether you have seen the same in the US over the last 2 years, maybe in 2023 and 2024. And the next shoe that was very hyped in Europe is the Adidas Campus, also in 2023 and 2024. And I think the young people that bought Nikes in 2020, 2021, they did go to Adidas and bought Adidas shoes in 2023 and 2024. So here we see the performance from Adidas since the end of 2022. The stock more than doubled until February 2025, and here during these years 2023 and 2024, these two shoes, the Adidas Sambas and the Adidas Campus, have experienced a great hype in Europe, and I think they took market share from Nike because I think the sneakers game is the most important part for Nike. It's actually not the running shoes. So if we want to know whether Nike is doing well or not, we have to look at the sneakers game, and that will also tell us when things are turning around. So in 2020 and 2021, Nike decided to focus on the strategy direct to customer. So they removed stuff from physical stores like Foot Locker and Snipes and JD, where many other brands are selling their stuff. So they removed their stuff and focused on their own website, on their own advertising to sell stuff directly to the customer without another party in between. Because of course, if there is nobody else involved in the business, the margins are higher and Nike can keep all of the money. And it did work very well. During the pandemic, during 2020 and 2021, where people have been in the lockdown. But the mistake the CEO did make, previous CEO, he underestimated that people would actually go back into physical stores after the pandemic was over and try on their shoes, buy their shoes. They thought that consumer behavior did change because of the pandemic and people would just order online, going to the Nike website, don't go to the physical stores. But that was a big mistake. People did go to the physical stores. The shelf space, which was covered with Nike shoes previously, was covered with shoes from different brands, and people didn't care. They bought shoes from different brands, and that was the main mistake that the old CEO did make. And since 2024, Nike introduced a new CEO, Elliot Hill. He has been working for Nike since the 80s and he knows the company very, very well from the inside. Actually, in 2020 he retired, but in 2024 he came back as the new CEO, and now he's trying to turn things around. Now they are definitely building up their relationship with retail stores again, and they try to be present in physical stores again. So let's take a look at some numbers. Right now the PE ratio is slightly below 20 and the forward PE ratio is 37.5, and that's because the EPS for the next revenues are expected to be way lower because Nike built up a lot of inventory. In order to restart again, they have to sell that inventory. They need to reduce prices to get out all of the old stuff. So for the fiscal year 2026, the EPS are only $1.90, but analysts already expect the EPS to be higher again in the fiscal year of 2027. I don't know why Nike has this weird schedule, but in their head, the third quarter of the fiscal year 2025 did already end. The earnings that we get next week is already the fourth quarter of the fiscal year 2025. So the forward PE looks extremely high, but when we consider the higher earnings that are estimated in 2027, the forward PE will drop again during the next quarters, but the actual PE ratio will be way higher if the price stays the same. So honestly, I don't even think that Nike is extremely cheap. So even if we consider $2.56 as earnings per share at the end of the fiscal year 2027, the PE ratio at the current price level would still be 22, and it's very hard to guess whether the revenues will start to go up again in the fiscal year 2027. So that's very hard to say from current perspective, and I don't think this PE ratio is extremely low. If things are not getting better during the next 2-3 quarters, I definitely think that Nike could honestly drop below $50 in the worst case. That is possible. Of course, Nike is still one of the most valuable brands in the world, one of the most recognizable. Everyone in the world knows Nike, so there will always be the opportunity, in my opinion, to turn things around. They have the contracts with the athletes, with the most famous athletes in the world, soccer players, basketball players, LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo. So everyone knows Nike. Kids still think that Nike is the coolest brand. So in my opinion, they only need one great sneaker everyone wants, that everyone is buying again, and then they can turn things around very, very quickly. But right now I don't see a sneaker trend that favors Nike at the moment. When we take a look at the Google search trends for Air Max, for example, you see how it slightly went down over the last couple of years. The same thing is true for Air Jordan, for example. The same thing is also true for the Nike Air Force. And I think personally, before we are buying Nike stock, we should watch the world around us very closely, because we will be the first people who see it when Nike turn things around in real life around us, when people are buying Nikes again. And we will see that before the Wall Street analysts, because they are not paying attention to something like that. Just look around you. Whenever you see that some new Nike sneakers are getting hyped again, that may be a good time to start buying the stock, because when we are going to see it in the real world, the Wall Street analysts, they will find out in the earnings report that is following. So to sum it up, I don't think that Nike is dying. Nike is going nowhere. I'm relatively sure that they are going to turn things around. The only question is, when are they going to do so? I definitely think that we will see Nike above $100 again in maybe 2027 or 2028, but I don't see it in 2025. So in my opinion, it's not a good decision to buy before the earnings. So I don't think right now that it's a good time to buy Nike before the next earnings report next week. It's never a good investment decision to buy a stock just because it went down a lot. That's very foolish, and that's not how investing works. I think with Nike, it's very easy to see for us in the real world whether things are changing or not. And as long as things are not changing in the real world, in the actual world, we should not buy the stock, in my opinion. Of course, nothing I say is financial advice. You always have to do your own decisions. That was it with today's video. I hope you could get some value out of it. If you have not seen my last video about PepsiCo, definitely check it out. The next video about Nike will follow very soon after the earnings report. Goodbye.